What's up, everyone? Welcome back to SANDCAST, another solo edition. You guys seem to enjoy this the last time that we did one, and I think we're kind of phasing into a more newsy, I don't want to say breaking news, but just when crazy events happen, full of volleyball like this weekend was, you guys seem to enjoy us sort of breaking down, giving a review of everything that happened. Now, full transparency's sake, I was at Cal Poly with Florida State. We threw in a stinker, went 0-4, but I did want to give a huge shout out to Todd Rogers and the Cal Poly team. They put on a phenomenal event. So I think the venues and schools I've been most impressed by. TCU, absolutely beautiful campus when we went there. Even though it was rainy, it was stunning. Sean Taylor did a nice job putting on an event in the 28-degree weather at Southern Miss. LSU, I think, has the best venue in the country, but I think that Cal Poly, the Center of Effort Challenge, I think that Todd does the best job in terms of putting on a whole event. Has a huge meal catered for everyone to get a big family dinner. Does a little coaches panel. It's a special event. And then UCLA, who is the winner, they came home with $15,000 of prize money, which is a fun little carrot to dangle there. And so while we were at Poly getting smushed by USC, Stanford, Arizona State, and the home team Poly, I didn't get to watch a ton from the Elite16 in Saquarema, one of my favorite little sleepy surf towns in Brazil, even if the venue itself, not great. But the town I really enjoyed. Didn't get to watch much really at all. And then the AVP Qualifier for the league, which I will get into here in a second. Watched a little bit, but I followed closely enough that I can give you all sort of a comprehensive breakdown of what happened and what's the deal moving forward. So let's start with the AVP Qualifier. Huge congrats to Megan Rice and Corinne Quiggle. I was surprised to see them playing together, to be honest. Now that I'm moving here in Tallahassee, I don't really keep up with all the comings and goings of partnerships. Corinne played really well with Chloe Lorene on the Beach Pro Tour. And Megan hasn't really shown a ton of interest in playing international, so it might just be one of those partnerships where you want to go international with one person, you're going to stay local with another. It's working out for Corinne. Her and Chloe have played well in the BPT, and now her and Megan, they just qualified, punched their tickets to the AVP League on back-to-back aces from Megan J. Rice. So this is the Megan Rice who played for LMU, who made the Hermosa Beach finals a couple years ago, and just 26 years old, and she's really only starting to scratch the surface of her potential. But they were playing a tremendous final against Devin Newberry and Jaden Whitmarsh, and they were up 14-12 in that final set. And Jaden and Devin, they side out 14-13. Devin makes a great pull dig, 14s. They end up actually flipping it and getting the lead. And then after a couple side outs, Megan says, screw it, let's just take a rip. Boom, 2 untouched aces for the win and a clincher. And so there are now 5 women's teams qualified for the AVP League 2025. It is Taryn Brasher, pardon me, and Kristen Nuss, they were wildcarded back onto the Austin Aces, although given Megan's propensity for aces, that would be a fitting team. But I think that'll stay with TKN. Melissa Mataparedes and Brandy Wilkerson, they were wildcarded back onto the Palm Beach Passion, and then you have Tony Rodriguez and Kylie DeBerg. Tony Rodriguez and Gina Urango, they're the defending champs for the San Diego Smash. Then you have Haley Harward and Kylie DeBerg. They are back with the Dallas Dream. And now you have Corinne and Megan. So there are your 5 teams. There are 2 events left. April 26th, another single elimination 16-team qualifier at Newland Street in Huntington Beach. And then there is the Big Granddaddy event, the Heritage event, which is also a single elimination event in Huntington Beach. And that's the second Saturday of May. So there are now 5 women's teams qualified. Currently in the driver's seat to qualify are Jaden and Devin. And I continue to be so impressed by them. They won that bronze medal at the Yucatan Challenge out of the qualifier, and they've just come back from the dead so many times. They were down 3-8 in the third set at one point in that challenge, came back and won, and they rallied back to get their bronze medal, and now they're making the finals. They had a nice little run, too, where they ended up beating Mariah Whalen and Jacinda Ramirez. Not a super surprise there, 7 beat the 10. But then they beat Kim Hildreth and welcome back after having a baby, Kelly Kolinsky. Congratulations to her and Bill for having a beautiful baby girl. Congratulations to Kelly for being healthy enough to play. They lost in 3 sets, and then they swept Savvy Simo and Abby Van Winkle after their heartbreaking not qualifying for the league a year ago. So Jaden and Devin in the driver's seat to qualify with 2 events left to play. And just as a reminder, how you qualify for the AVP League, you can either made the playoffs last year, as 3 of those teams did, or you can get as 2 of those teams did. You can get wild carded, as 2 more did, or you can take 2 out of your best 3 finishes from the single elimination qualifiers in Huntington and the Heritage event in Huntington, or you can just win, as Corinne and Megan did. And so you'll have a new winner on the 26th. You have a potentially new winner at the Heritage event, although I would say it's unlikely that you'll have another new winner. So it's likely the last 2 spots, I would say, are going to come down to points. And so Jaden and Devin in the driver's seat for that. Also Lexi Denneberg and Julia Scholes, they were the 1 seed. They took a 3rd place finish, as did Savvy and Abby. So those 3 teams in good shape to qualify. So Corinne and Megan, they will not be playing in the single elimination qualifier on the 26th. That will go to another team sort of off the quote-unquote reserve list, so they will then get their shot. But in reality, it'll be Kelly Cheng and Molly Shaw coming off the reserve list. So they took a bit of a chance. They skipped out on this qualifier. I don't agree with the AVP's decision not to give Kelly an injury sub for Sara Hughes and let her and Molly be in the league. One, Kelly is one of the best players in the world. She's the defending world champion. She's the defending regular season champion with the New York Nitro and Sara Hughes. They were the best team in the regular season by far. Sarah's hurt. Molly, I don't want to say she's unproven, hasn't proven herself at the level that Sara has, but still, it's Kelly Cheng and it's Molly Shaw. It's a really good team. They just took back-to-back 4th place finishes in Elite 16s. More on that in a second. And so they didn't give her an injury sub. So Molly and Kelly now just have 2 events to earn their way into the league. And while they'll be heavy favorites to qualify by winning either the single elimination in Huntington or just putting together 2 good events, anything can happen. And I think if the AVP, you're taking a chance of leaving Kelly Cheng out of it, which I think, to me, that's a mistake. And I am unabashedly rooting for them to make it, because I think the league is going to be 10x better with Kelly and Molly in it. And so that's going to make life more difficult for everyone back in the qualifier on the 26th. And if they don't win, that's going to make it more difficult for everyone in the Heritage event the 2nd week of May. So even though Corinne and Megan are out of it, Kelly and Molly, they're going to come in. They'll be the 1 seed. And so the tournament will actually get stronger, even though the champs of this one are actually leaving. As for the women, that kind of sums up that part for the men. If anybody wants to look, this is what we got on the card today. We got Hagen Smith and Logan Weber. I would say that I'm a little bit, I'll admit it, I'm surprised by what we saw there. Hagen and Logan are good, but here you have James Shaw coming off a bronze medal at an Elite 16 and a stunner over Sweden. Now that sort of sets you up for, in football they call it trap games, where you have this emotional high and then the next weekend where you're against objectively lower level teams that you're expected to win, and then you don't. And instead it's Hagen and Logan, who they didn't even lose a single set, which is hard to do in sets to 15, because you have a tough start. You take a 4-1 switch and then a 3-2 switch, and suddenly you're staring down the barrel of a 7-3 deficit and you're halfway through the set. And a set to 21, that's far from a death sentence. You can make the adjustments. Hagen and Logan never had to deal with it. Here's who they beat. They took down Tim Brewster, Ryan Ierna, no problem. They swept Troy Field and Theo Brunner, no problem. They swept Avery Drost and Wyatt Harrison, no problem. Then they swept another surprise team, so it was a 7 meeting the 5, and Sean Cook and Brian Miller. And so Hagen and Logan, they are into the AVP League. Huge congrats to them. The storyline for the men, to me, is just general surprise. I was surprised to see Logan and Hagen make it. All due respect, boys, I love you both. I was surprised to see them take down Troy and Theo. I was surprised that Avery and Wyatt were in the semifinals over Tim Baumgren and Paul Lottman. I was surprised that it wasn't James and Kame that they met in the finals. So surprises everywhere. And so Kame and James, it's not like they had a bad tournament. They made their ways to the semifinals, got upset in 3 by Sean Cook and Brian Miller. Sean, phenomenal player, wonderful entertainer. Brian Miller, just this sneaky talent down in San Diego. Really good blocker, funky arm swing, crazy jumpy. I hated playing him. We matched up all the time together. He was impossible to time because he had that crazy arm swing. He's got these short arms, and so it's like this really fast darts, and it's awkward, and it's hard to stop. And he proved hard to stop, and so now, just like Jaden and Devin, Brian and Sean are now in the driver's seat of the AVP League as far as qualifying via points. Cam and James, decent shape, taking a third. I would expect them to qualify. Avery and Wyatt, pretty good shape, taking a third. However, it's not going to get much easier, as we have Phil Dahlhauser and Trevor Crabb. They were wild carded in. Hagen and Logan, they're now in. And then we have the defending champs, Chase Budinger and Miles Evans. They are back with the San Diego Smash. And then you have, who's the last team? Miles Partain and Andy Benish. They will be back with the Dallas Dream. So we have 5 teams now qualified for the men. And then you have a funky situation going on. So you got Evan Corey, who has been training with Tri-Born. It was a pretty exciting new partnership, and full bias for me. Tri-Born, one of my best friends. Evan Corey, I'll be a groomsman in his wedding in October. Also one of my best friends. I thought they'd be phenomenal. No one's a shoo-in into the league, but I thought that they'd be a strong pair. And so far they're 0-3 on the Beach Pro Tour, and then Tri had to pull out late with an injury. Evan picks up Thomas Hurst, who, credit to him, does great in a last-minute pinch hit opportunity, and they stun Alisson and Alvaro, and didn't even need to go 3 in order to beat him. And so I don't know what Evan and Tri are going to do, because they have no room for error now. And so if Tri's healthy, they need to have a good showing on the 26th. If they don't win, then they need to have another good showing at the real AVP Huntington that second weekend of May, or they're just sentenced to the World Tour, which I know the Tri does not want to do. So it's going to be, pressure's on for my boys, Evan and Tri, and their coach, also my guy, Kyle Friend. But so these are high intensity events. Now, a quick word on the streaming. I'm glad that the AVP did stream. They streamed the qualifier on their YouTube channel, and they had at least a score bug and all that. No commentators, and so you can see it's a pretty low level of investment from the AVP in the qualifier. They're clearly putting all their chips in the league basket. And some people were critical of it. Larry Hamill, who's got his own little volleyball coverage thing on Facebook and Substack, he was saying what a terrible job it was. Now, from the AVP's perspective, the numbers on those streams were terrible. I was watching with Nick Lucena at this restaurant called Petra up at Cal Poly. Shout out to them. They were on diners, drive-ins, and dives. Anything Guy Fieri approved? It's me approved. But we're watching, and we were one of 436 viewers for the final. And I don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze to add a bunch of production value. Now, it was shocking to contrast that. We watched that, and then we were flipping back and forth between that and the Masters. Obviously, different level. Obviously, this wasn't a Masters level event, but just the amount of professionalism that you see between the two sports, it was illuminating. But I don't think that the AVP investing a ton of money in that stream, it wouldn't have gone very far. It would have been an instant loser. Now, could they have added some commentary? Sure, for pretty cheap. Would that have made things better? Absolutely. But for the most part, at least they had a stream. At least they had a score bug. It met expectations for me, is what I'm going to say as far as the quality of the stream. That'll do it for the AVP side of things. So we got 3 spots left for the women, 3 spots left for the men. Moving on to, I didn't even mention Taylor Crabb, Taylor Sander. They're also into the league back with the New York Nitro. Who their teammates are going to be, we'll wait to see, because Kelly wasn't injury subbed for Molly Cheng. I think it's a mistake. Volleyball world, moving on to them. So there was an Elite 16 in Saquarema. I loved this stop last year. Me, Tri-Born, and Came Shock, we got a little surf bungalow Airbnb that actually John Florence stayed in. It was pretty cool seeing his little memorabilia there. Full transparency, didn't watch hardly any of it. All right, I was busy getting our butts kicked up at Cal Poly, but I kept up with the results, of course, and great to see Mol and Christian Sorum. They look as good as they have in a long time, and I think that some props are due to Adrian Karambula. He kept them out of those Mexico events because he wanted to give them a proper offseason, recover from all those niggling injuries, and just they looked refreshed from the little bit that I did see. Gave Sweden a spanking in the finals, and credit to Sweden. Jonathan Helvig hurt his thumb, and so he was up there. If you're wondering why he was Kong blocking everything, He wasn't just trying a new style of Kong block. He was just, his thumb hurt. And soon he will have the ridiculously damaged blocker fingers that we all have and live with. We're all going to have arthritis very young. So credit to Norway coming out hot, winning a big final there. And on the women's side, Kristen Nuss, Taryn Brasher. It's going to take me a second. They win their second straight Elite 16 medal, won a bronze in Quintana Roo, Mexico. Followed it up with a silver medal there in Saquarema. Fell to the Brazilian queens, Tamila Cordelli and Victoria Lopez. They had kind of a disappointing showing in the first event of the year, and then they came back, won a medal. And they've just been podium queens ever since they teamed up at Hamburg Elite 16 last August, and they followed up again. Now, I think that the biggest move made was actually Kelly Cheng and Molly Shaw. Sure, they got another fourth place finish, but look at who they beat. Beat Anna Patricia Duda, Olympic gold medalist. Beat Melissa Humana Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson, Olympic silver medalist. Beat Valentina Guittardi, to me one of the best players in the world, and Rekha Orsi-Toth, sneakily becoming one of the better defenders in the business. Those are a lot of big league wins back to back to back, and to string them all together in one tournament is really difficult to do. And so Molly's here. She's for real. That first finish was no fluke. Yet there was clearly some nerves in their first match that they played together against Ukraine at the Elite 16 in Mexico. But those nerves seemed to be gone as Molly was steady. She was steady against AP and Duda. She was steady against Mel and Brandy. She was steady against the Italians. And it's a lot of people would just assume, looking at the results, well, Kelly was just optioning here and there. And of course she is. That's her game. She's the best in the world at optioning. But it takes an elite passer to do it. It takes an elite player to run that offense. And Molly's doing it well. So huge credit to them. Huge shout out for them for following up. The other big storyline from that event is that it was the end of the 5 straight medal streak for Megan Kraft and Therese Cannon. Almost got out of the Undertaker rounds again. Same thing in Mexico. So this format, I don't need to belabor the point. It's stupid. But so they lost in the round of 12. They got the Undertaker resurrection back to life, and then they lost again in the quarterfinals. So they took a 5th place finish, so their medal streak is over. Still an excellent finish for Megan T. And the next stop for the Beach Pro Tour will be in Brasilia, an Elite 16 in Brasilia that starts on Wednesday. I'll actually be back on the mic this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I'll be coaching Florida State in the morning, and then I will be commentating for Volleyball World in the afternoons. And then my boys, Kyle Friend and Rich Lamborn, I believe, are both down there to do the in-person commentary for quarterfinals and the medal rounds. So I missed commentating, missed hanging out with all you guys on VBTV. So I'll be back on the mic there. The last big rung to go on today, the NCAA. So I already talked about we threw in a stinker. I think we were kind of due. We have 5 freshmen on our roster, which is regularly starting at Florida State, and we've been sort of overperforming. I think exceeding expectations. And I even mentioned Brooke Niles and Nick Lucena. I was like, I feel like we're due for one, and the bill came due with interest this weekend. So we went 0-4, lost to Stanford, who looks really good. Credit to Andrew Fuller for getting his team ready there. If you're looking for names to watch, by the way, I love Ruby Sora's game. I actually met Ruby when she was in high school at a Norseca in Veradero, Cuba, and I said, I just will forever call her Young Ruby. She's an excellent talent. I think that Brooke Rockwell is maybe one of the funnest players to watch unless you're coaching against her, in which case you're never comfortable against Brooke Rockwell. She was wonderful. Avery Jackson, she has a bright future ahead, super jumpy, super physical. So as a whole, Stanford looks really good. USC starting to pick it up as well. They're never down for long. We actually upset them at LSU, and that sort of put them into this sort of lineup reconfiguration as Dane Blanton, Gustavo Roca, Emily Hansen. They're trying to put all the pieces in the right spots, starting to find that. Cal Poly, they have a really fun ones pair. Piper Furch and Aaron Inskeep. They're this small ball, super ball control team. Super fun to watch. Very elite team. And actually down on the 4s and 5s is one of their better players. Ella Connor, she has been fantastic. We didn't play TCU. They were there. Obviously, Daniela Alvarez, she's a can't-miss kid. He took 5th at the Olympics. Haley Hamlet's playing great. Alanis Navas and her freshman partner, Sofia Izuquiza from Spain, they are playing tremendous. One of the best court threes. They might be moved up to court 2 now in the country. And then you got Maria Gonzalez. She's playing great. And there's Ukrainian Angelina Kamil. She is playing really good volleyball. So TCU stacked across the board. UCLA, they ended up winning the whole thing. Sally Perez and Maggie Boyd, they're arguably one of the best court ones in the country. They were tremendous per usual. Maggie is as steady and smooth as they come. She's a junior. She'll be back one more year. And then Sally Perez is one of the brightest futures of anybody in the country, just a freshman, and she's been on court 1 all season long. They're court 2, Perry Brennan and Natalie Myskowski, one of the best court 2s in the country. Perry, I've known since she was in high school, went to Norseca with her and Devin Newberry when she was just a junior. Devin was a senior down in La Paz. She's been a killer her whole career, and she remains as such. Jessie Smith was bumped up from the 5s to the 3s. She's a very legit talent. And then down on court 5, really jumpy young blocker, Harper Cooper. Been super impressed with her. And then that's kind of as far as the teams there. So UCLA ended up winning. I don't know if they'll be bumped back up in the number. I'm recording this before the rankings come out. But they have an argument to be number 1 in the country again. TCU always has an argument for number 1 in the country. LMU always has an argument for number 1 in the country. So it's those 3 have kind of set themselves apart. Stanford kind of in that class as well. And so I think you have a big 4, Cal Poly, and then you have a sort of a peloton, so to speak, in the middle, which includes Florida State and a lot of other teams, and where anybody can really beat anybody. Stein's done a great job at Texas in their first full season. So that's it for our regular season at Florida State. Will be a week off, and then it's conference championships, and then it is NCAAs. The NCAA selection show is April 27th, so be on the lookout for that. But that is a wild weekend. So we had all levels of the game in 3 different formats. So you got the college, 5 pairs, best 3 out of 5. That's your winner. You got the AVP doing 3 sets to 15, and then you got Volleyball World doing whatever in the world, this 24-team round of 12 resurrection format, whatever you want to call it. But it's great. It's exciting volleyball. Not nearly as exciting as the Masters. Shout out Rory McIlroy. Every golfer in their mid-30s. We were going through the up and downs with you, buddy. That was a stressful flight that I was watching the Masters on. So appreciate you guys for hanging out. Again, let us know if you guys enjoy these solo episodes. For the most part, people seem to like them. But if you want less of them, if you want more of them, just let us know. We're open to feedback always. We just want to make this the best beach volleyball coverage in the world. So thank you as always. Rooting for my boy Try to get better. Go Noles. Shoots.